Salute, Nick family. Welcome to Nothing But Nick's YouTube channel. This is, what is this? No, this is the Queen's Court. I'm your host, Stephanie, aka Queen. We're here every Monday, 8:30 p.m. But because the Knicks play tonight at 7:30 p.m. versus Detroit, we're going earlier. You know how we do. We review the last week's slate of games. We're actually going to preview Detroit. And then we'll also preview the rest of the games this week. The Knicks have a 4-game week tonight, Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we have a lot to talk about. We only have an hour. If we get an opportunity to talk about some other topics in between, like Burks and Bojan, the non-Brunson minutes, if we have enough time, we'll get into that as well. Let me bring in the panel. Ajay, Dope Soul Sports Talk resident panelist, Lady and the Chef, two Knicks chicks. Delusional Nick fan is Delusional Nick fan. We don't know what his name. We just call him Delusional.
Call me delusional.
Shout out to the chat rocking with us, Jess Knicks, Bob, Jarrell in the house, David G, Brooklyn Butch, Jess Knicks. Appreciate you. And Wonder Woman. How's everybody doing?
Good. Good.
Nah, doing good. Important week for the Knicks, so I'm feeling good.
Exactly.
Always a pleasure to talk Knicks. Always a pleasure.
Exactly.
Shout out to the chat.
Yeah.
And hit the like button on the way in this
Hit the
time.
like button on the way in for sure. Next week, I'm in Miami. So Lady and the Chef has been gracious enough to host the Queen's Court next week. So
Awesome.
I expect everybody to show up for her, including the panel. Show up for her. I have no hesitation, no doubts about her ability. I hope I got a job when I come back,
Oh no, this is definitely your show.
We shall see. Listen. Stranger things have happened.
You might be relegated just to the background work,
Right, exactly.
Put the slides together and all that good stuff.
Right. Let me review. Oh, this is the wrong slide. Let me review. We'll get into that. What's been going on with the Knicks since we last met? Knicks are 42 and 28 since the last Queen's Court, 2-1. Still fourth in the standings, but an opportunity by the end of the week to really solidify that third spot. We're 13th in offensive rating on the season, 7th in defensive rating on the season, 6th in net rating on the season. Over the last 3 games, we're 14th in offensive rating, 16th in defensive rating, and 16 in net rating. All right. Let's talk about this week's slate of games. Who and what has stood out for you during this week?
Come on, you got to start it out. Ajay, start it out.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah.
So the past week, the West Coast trip, of course, we went 3-1, which was amazing. I really wanted us to go 4-0, but it was amazing. 3-1 was pretty good. What stood out is really the effort of the entire team. And that includes, yes, Queens, the coaching staff. They did a pretty good job. Thibodeau surprised me, and I text you that to say, listen, lately he hasn't been stubborn with his rotation. When somebody don't have it, he picks it up right away, and he puts in the next guy, next man up. You're not producing, somebody else comes up. Case in point, Precious Achiuwa he didn't have a great road trip, right? He didn't play that many minutes because he wasn't producing. Sit down. You're not doing nothing. We got the next guy coming up, right? Deuce McBride, he's producing. He's playing 48 minutes. Okay, and that's something that we haven't seen in the past, especially with that coach and his staff. So,
Right.
Well, I don't want to say and his staff, but I want to say that coach, maybe he's listening to his staff right now. So whatever it is, it's giving up great results, right? In terms of individual players, listen, everybody, but I want the guys I want to highlight are, of course, Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson's automatic. I don't even think we have to mention him, but the guys, because you expect that from him at this point. The guys you got to highlight is Deuce McBride, of course, and Isaiah Hartenstein. I mean, those two guys have been balling. They've been playing there. They've been leaving out there on the floor. They've been doing what we have to do anything we have to do to get that win. And Deuce, in some case, I mean, he's come through on offense and defense. I mean, he's been really, really, really good lately. And so has iHeart. iHeart, he's been scoring a little bit more the past games, and his defense has been, stellar. He's been pretty good. Um, you know, you have the other guys, Alec Burks had a game where he scored some points. You're still not seeing the Alec Burks that we know and expect. He's scoring points, but it's just it ain't it. He's not there yet. You could tell he's not there. Or at least where we expect him to be. We expected him to be when they brought him in. We expected to see either the Alec Burks from a couple of seasons ago or the one from Detroit that was putting up the points effortlessly, but he's just not there yet. Hopefully he'll get there. Bogdanovich hasn't had a great couple of games, but he's one good, 4 bad, one good, 3 bad. He's on and off. These guys are getting their footing in. They're not there yet. And listen, I think by the time the playoffs roll in, everybody's going to be in sync. So I'm not worried. But as a whole, I think the team did a great job. They came back, on Saturday. They were playing with their food for 3 quarters, and then fourth quarter they put the smack down. All right, tell Brooklyn, listen, you are the little brother. Stay in your lane. Understand your role over here. So yeah, so the whole team gets the nod.
Lady in the show.
Yeah, it's great to be back here on a Monday. Great way to start off the week, talking about all things Knicks. So thanks for having me. Love being a panel member here, and salute to the chat. Hit the like button, everybody. You know the deal. I think what stood out for me is something that I've been saying is that this roster now, with the injured guys out, they have to figure out how to win. And I think this roster, especially on the West Coast trip, they figured out how to get wins under their belt. And I think, salute to them for not getting, the Knicks haven't been getting blown out by teams this season, but I thought Denver was a game that was very close. The Knicks were on their heels. And, I know Diva Locks is very optimistic, and she had them at 4-0. So I was like really impressed by that, because I was like, oh, I think I had them at 2-2. And I was trying to find the tape where we went over our predictions, but she was like, no, they can take any team in this league. But I really like the way this team is figuring out how to win without OG, without Randall, with Mitch still being out. And I think that's important, because I've been saying that the weight can't continue to keep falling on Brunson. So I like that they're figuring out how to come together like they were pre-injuries. So these guys, I to piggyback off of what Ajay was saying, I am still looking for Burks and Bogdanovich to find their footing. I'm not really looking for the old Burks that was on the Knicks before, because I didn't like him then when he was on that older Knicks squad. And I think that he's hit a reality check when he came here. I think he realized, like, wow, like this is not the old organization that it was when I was here. Like, it's a completely, we cleaned house, we got rid of dead weight, front office is making moves. This is a different, this team has grown since when he was here. And I'm still not happy with Burks when he goes to make his drive to the basket. I notice he's still driving into a brick wall. His drives are so predictable when he drives and it's frustrating to watch, because I'm like, you can't be for real with those amateur moves the way you drive to the basket. And guys are just simply just putting their hands straight up, and he's running into walls. You know what I mean? I don't think that that's his game. And I know on Two Knicks Chicks, I've said this, I can't figure out what's the deal with Bogdanovich. I don't know. I feel like it's 50-50. I think part of it, I put it on Tibbs and the coaching as far as offensively. I don't think he's in his spots that he needs to be. And then the other part of it is I put it on Bogdanovich. I think while some games he's a little off, I give him a lot of credit because he makes really tough baskets. But I don't know if it's that. I've noticed this even when we did have a guy like Grimes. And then again, I used to say, well, you look at McBride. McBride is able to get off shots that he wants to make. So you can't really, I can't put my finger on why is it that Bogdanovich hasn't been able to be more of a factor for us. But I'm not sleeping on Bogdanovich and Burks, because I think in the postseason, both of them can be X factors and come through and easily give us 18, 20 points easily within a game, within a series, and help us win that game. So yeah, that's what stood out for me, that these guys have figured out how to win games without other prime guys on the team, especially with OG going back out.
Yeah, so I want to start with saying that the Knicks had a phenomenal week, especially with the rankings and the standings being close with the Magic on that tail and a couple of under teams. Just like we could have easily lost a couple games and ended up in the sixth spot. So very crucial week, especially out west. Going against the Nuggets was a crucial game that I thought we could have won. I questioned Tibbs' coaching. The only time I question his coaching is with him really going small against a solid, huge lineup. Like we had 6'4" players on 6'10", forward trying to box out, which we definitely got out rebounds, which was the pretty crazy deficit on that part. But other than that, we had a phenomenal week against the Kings, which was a tough game, solid game, great coaching, great display. Like I said, Bogdanovich didn't have it, or Achua, and it kind of sat those minutes. And we ran with a solid rotation. So kudos to Tibbs with that. Really quickly want to throw out the Bogey and Burks situation. It's just like you stated, late in the chef. This is a total different Knicks team that they're coming to. And I think Tibbs definitely needs to put these guys in a better position. Because we see when we had RJ and Quickly, and we saw how they scored. They kind of scored to the system that we had. Now they went to Toronto and see that they're a little bit more efficient, is because that the coaching kind of catered to their style. So maybe Tibbs gradually, depending on situations, can have spots for those guys to kind of get the shots off, because they are 100% going to be crucial for us during the playoffs. Bogdanovich, with his spacing, his height, what he could do with his mid-range. You've seen him catch the ball in the paint, when you have other guys on the wing, and he can operate in that mid-range to knock down free throw shots. That should be 90% for him. So if we can include that more often. But I figured that the offense kind of catered to the Brunson, the DiVincenzo's of the using floppy things of that nature. So it kind of dictate to that offense. But I would love for them to equate that. But other than that, we're rolling. We are rolling 3-1.
Yeah, yeah. I think what stood out for me was the putting McBride in the starting lineup in Golden State, and he's been there ever since. And it lends the question, was that just a a change because of Golden State? But it seems like it's even more than that. I read an article in the Athletic about the Knicks really trying to find scoring. Well, actually, in the non-Brunson minutes. But listen, Deuce is playing 48 minutes, so he playing with and without, with and without
Thanks.
Brunson. But I think that stood out for me, and I'm hoping that continues in the playoffs. Just Thibodeau deploying the roster and different players depending on the player, depending on the team, the series, what we need at that particular point. And the same thing, we've talked about this for weeks. It's everybody. Josh Hart continues to, do what he does. Hartenstein is looking more healthy. They're running the offense through him a little bit more. He has the ball in his hand. They're featuring him in a pick and roll, little pocket pass, from Brunson to him. He's scoring more. He talked about that as well, that this was his role when he was with the Clippers, a few years back. So he's used to that. Yeah.
I want to add something real quick that we didn't mention, that I didn't mention the first go around, is as a whole, the defense has been tremendous. And you and I, we say this all the time. You can't win game. Defense don't win games, but you need the defense to help you win games. You gotta put the ball in the hole, no doubt about it.
Right.
All right, because in the NBA, you can't score if you don't score,
Right.
if you don't have offense, right? So
Right.
this ain't the NFL. But the team, not just the individual defense, but as the team defense has been on point. You couple that with the fact that the league is making a conscious effort to allow teams to play defense, to allow to swallow their whistles on those all those little ticky-tack fouls. That kind of plays right into what the Knicks have been doing all season. Okay, I'm sure we lost a couple of games earlier this season that we would not have lost if they were calling the games the way they're calling them now. So the defense has been like tremendous in the past few games since the All-Star break. Actually, I don't know what our ranking is, but I'm sure it's got to be 1, 2, or 3. Probably we're top up there. We got to be up there in defense since the All-Star break because the refs are allowing us to play defense the way we do.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I think the other thing that, stood out was the win in Brooklyn, getting in, I don't know, 5 o'clock, whatever it was Friday, having to play a 1 p.m. game on Saturday, playing to a standstill basically after 3 and just really digging deep and pulling it out in the fourth quarter. They're very much aware of the seeding. They're aware that they're playing teams that are under 500 and that they have an opportunity to get that third seed. So they're aware of that. Yeah. Anything else that stood out to you? And I know we talked about the West Coast trip, but actually, since we last met here, the Knicks played Golden State, Denver, and Brooklyn. And they were and they were 2-1. Beat Golden State, beat Brooklyn, lost to Denver. All right, let's go back to Burks and Bojan. And we can actually mix Deuce in here as well. Let's start with Deuce, and then we'll mix Burks and Bojan in. Given how he's played throughout the course of the season, particularly of late in the starting unit, do you think he has secured his rotation spot in the playoffs? And it's going to be somebody else, Burks, Bojan, Precious, that's situational, but that Burks has secured his spot. Delusional, we'll start with you.
Oh, I don't think he cracks that rotation for the playoffs. Honestly,
No?
Burks. I don't think
No,
Burks.
not Burks. I think she meant
Right.
Deuce.
Oh,
Yeah,
Deuce.
I
Oh
was
no, Deuce is high on the list. I'm like Deuce will probably have maybe the third highest minutes from the guard rotation. Honestly, you seeing like we were short a forward, yet Tibbs gave all that minutes to a guard. So that should kind of give you an idea on where he sees fit of where the head of the defense is, and it's the point of attack. So if I can stop my guard from setting up anybody else on the offense, they control the basketball. And we know Brunson for the most part is not our best defender. He can defend for the most part, but you see what Deuce can provide on the wing, standing up front, getting around the pick and roll. So he's pretty much the head of the defense, honestly. Even though we rely heavily on Hartenstein, but that's more so of the help defense, the cleanup aspect of it. So yeah, Deuce is definitely 100% in that playoff roster spot.
Yeah. Jeff, and we're gonna go around quickly because we got to cover Detroit and we got to cover the rest of the the week. Jeff, how are you? I'm glad you was able to make it. We went over what stood out for us last week in our 2-in-1 week, and now we're talking about McBride and Burks and Bogey. And the question is, given how McBride has played this season, and particularly of late in the starting unit, do you think he's solidified his spot in that 9-man rotation in the playoffs?
I do. I think you got to play him over both Bogdanovich and Burks. I think he's shooting better than both of them in a Knick uniform, and that's the reason they're here. And the defensive difference is not close. I mean, they Deuce has played terrific, and his durability and his ability to just be on the court and play as long as you need him to. I mean, he just you just wind him up and then you just let him go, and he can play for 48 or he can play for 10, whatever you need him for. So you've seen a lot of growth with him this year, especially on the offensive end. And I agree with a lot of what Delusional said. I just caught the end of it because I just came in, but I think he had a great point there about his versatility defensively, especially.
Right. Yeah. for sure. Lady and the Chef.
Yeah, I agree with both Delusional and Jeff. To me, there's no question. It's funny because I look at what Deuce is doing in his confidence. And once we finished one of our last shows, usually Diva Lux and I were talking like how we do here afterwards.
Mhm.
And I said, what's funny? I said, Grimes could never. And she just started busting out laughing. And I was like, you just wouldn't get the same production from Deuce. And I just think that Deuce is way more like mentally, he's locked in with this team.
Mhm.
He sees the end goal. I think the mental part of the game, there's not that worry there of like the confidence. And when I get out there, I gotta shoot a basket. And I think that was what was happening with which I know we're gonna get to with Burks. There's
Mhm.
this like and even when we had Toppin, there was this like, I gotta get out there, I gotta make a basket. No, let the game come to you, stay composed, and you don't gotta rush. And with Deuce, even when Deuce was getting 4 minutes, he would go out there and play his role. And I know you used to joke around and say he's gonna look at Deuce going out there, he gonna chuck up a shot because he was trying to get 3 to 5 points in that 4 minutes he was getting. But at the same time, he was still going out there and hustling on defense. He
Mhm.
got the job done defensively. And I heard shout out to Jay Boogie. He said he's going out there and doing his job.
Right.
And that's the thing. Like, I think, a lot of times with any sport, a big part of it is mental. But I think with Deuce, there's not this like, he's not mentally in a bad space, so he's able to play the game and just his shot when he puts it up, I feel comfortable when he's shooting. I'm not like, oh gosh, here he goes shoot. I'm confident, like, yo, take your shot. And I think he's not hesitant to take his shot, which I love also. I look at a lot of times when Brunson's not out there, I think that's what we need. Someone else who's gonna be able to take action. And a lot of times when Brunson's not out there, you're looking, and a lot of times the ball is just going from side to side because no one's taking that initiative because you don't have your Randall out there or OG who can just be like, yo, just give me the ball. I'm going to bring it inside and make a move. And with Deuce, I'm finding his confidence, I think, playing alongside Brunson is building. And I
Mhm.
think that's helping him because he's able to still be a student of the game and he's learning a lot. So I for sure think what he's been showing, and it's not even just the amount of points, it's everything, it's a combination of it boiled into one. And what he's been doing, I think that for sure he's deserving of. I know Tibbs rather put him in before he put Burks and Bogdanovich in because he's also showing that he's going to be able to be consistent. So he's only going to get better, Deuce. And, I'm loving what I'm seeing so far from him.
Before we get to Adrian, let me just read his stats over the last um 11 games. Shout out to Twitter and the Athletic, where I got a lot of my information from today. Deuce McBride is averaging 12.7 points, 2.5 3-pointers, shooting 49.5% from the field, 46.7% from three, 90.9%, basically 91% from the free throw line, 28 assists. And that's not really his thing, but over 11 games, 28 assists and only five turnovers. That's how well he's been playing over the last 11 games. Ajay?
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, yeah, he's gonna be in the rotation, in the playoff rotation. Um, yeah, he's producing. He's producing. Queen. He's producing.
We'll
No, but
take it.
he's putting up points. He's playing defense. He's grabbing rebounds. He's doing, he's bringing the energy. So he is going to crack that rotation. And remember, last year he was not as good. He still got in the rotation. It was a bad experience, but this year it's time for him to make it up. And he's had a whole year to build up his confidence and his game, and we're gonna see a much better Deuce this year in the playoff. I have no worries if he's even when they turn up the heat in the playoffs. And Queen, you say that all the time. A lot of guys disappear in the playoffs, right? Reduce his confidence. I don't think he's gonna disappear because he is going to hit this thing head on in the playoffs. So he's going to get his minutes, and hopefully, most likely, he will be producing, the way we're seeing him play now. So
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that's a concern in the playoffs, and this was highlighted in the article in the Athletic, was the non Brunson. Alexa off. That she got to tell me the Knicks is coming on in a half an hour. The non Brunson minutes have been worse than at least I thought. So
Queen, she knows your condition.
yeah, she knows what and she says it twice. In 39 games, this is after the trade. So basically, the non-Brunson minutes have gotten worse after the trade, right? We both RJ Barrett and Emmanuel quickly went in that trade, and they scored for us. And Brunson ran that, IQ ran that second unit, and we may complain that the shots he took and his shot selection and blah 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 blah. He ran that second unit, and with those two gone, it was a struggle for us, and we hoped getting Burks, would help us. In the 39 games since the trade, the Knicks average 121.2 points per 100 possession when Brunson is on the court, and 102.9 when he's on the bench, and that's when he's on the bench. The Knicks have played 316 possessions with Burks on the court and Brunson off of it. So 316 possessions where they did not share the court. And we're averaging a mere 97.8 points per 100 possessions during that time. So not a lot is happening when Brunson is not on the court. One of the things they brought out was, because of our offensive rebounding, that has helped us actually. And then they also pointed out that even McBride is not the answer so far anyway in these non-Brunson minutes. But at the same time, the sample size is not great. So it may only be 8 minutes, right? You think Brunson averaged 40 minutes last year in the playoffs, right? He probably did about the same. So we're talking about 8 minutes, but 8 minutes, is significant. If that second unit is not holding it down. So Tibbs has kind of been playing around with different lineups, but concern about for the rest of this season and going into the playoffs, just the non-Brunson minutes. Jeff, we'll start with you. And
Well,
again,
I think you just made the case for Brunson for MVP right there. First of all, and I've been concerned about it for a while because I didn't think our bench was a particularly good scoring unit, even when we had Quickly and Barrett, and it's only gotten worse.
Right.
So I think if you look at the numbers before the trade, they weren't amazing. I think our starting five has really been our strong suit for the entire year. Regardless, it seems, of who you put in there, but which is kind of funny. But again, it speaks to how good Brunson is. But yeah, I'm supremely concerned about it, especially since I understand that there wasn't a real point guard necessarily available for acquisition, but Burks is certainly not that. And if you're counting on him to do that, you're really putting him into the role that he was so bad at when he was here the first time. That's why we got frustrated with him so much. And, he hasn't been shooting the ball well either, which is making matters even worse. But, I definitely think that it's a concern. Where does the secondary scoring come from? What are we going to do in that second unit? Because come playoff time, when they're game planning for you, they're going to take away your best option. And when your best option isn't good to begin with, that can make for some really ugly, messy possessions. And I guess the only saving grace about that is I think that the defensive performance by the bench units has been good enough where we're not at least getting blown out of the water in that time frame.
Right. Yeah. And Deluge, and then and you guys can add this to the question. The Knicks must. I'm not sure of what their thought process was. They got Burks thinking that he would be able to handle those 8 to 10 minutes behind Brunson and run the offense, and they elected. And they also knew that Deuce is young in as far as running a team. So they knew that that wasn't going to be his role. And they elected not to go out, or maybe they tried and they weren't able to. But just quickly, concerns or not, and with the non-Brunson minutes for the rest of the season heading into the playoffs.
Um, I wouldn't be concerned for the rest of the season, because I think this is something that can honestly easily be fixed. And maybe I'm seeing it from maybe a coach's standpoint, because we're running the same offense that the starters run. Now, granted, Deuce is no Brunson. How we run the plays for Brunson, things of that nature. So it's like what I brought up before. We're not utilizing our players to their best ability. So run an offense that can cater to that unit, where you can develop buckets, rather than we're still running the same. I keep forgetting the name of the call, but you hand it out to Brunson. Brunson pass it out on a wing. He run baseline, kind of semi floppy, just to give him the ball free up to isolate. We can't run that with Deuce, but then you try to run that with Burks, and then you can see he's still not used to that system that we're running. So maybe if we can just bring out that playbook a little bit more, cater to a different style of offense with that second unit, and find something that works rather than running what we usually do. I see Tibbs on the sideline running chin and running top. We switch it up for that second unit. And I think you can find something, expand it a little bit more. Just like how we have Hartenstein hitting these floaters, maybe see if we can give that ball a pressures in the post and see. I'm not saying we should, because I've seen what he's done in the post sometimes, but when we see him in the pick and roll, honestly, and he's more productive in the pick and roll. When he runs with that second unit, a lot of his plays is just give him the ball, like you said, on the wing, and he's kind of tossing that ball up. So maybe more pick and rolls with that. So just he sees what we see. I know he does, but I guess he's reluctant to kind of switch up, which we've been always asking. So maybe that'll be the key.
I think that the key, I mean, what we have been seeing though is running the offense more through Hartenstein, and maybe we should do that even more when he's in on the second unit. And Tibbs is used to that. He did it with Joakim Noah.
Right.
So pull out whatever plays you were using back then, and start running that with with Hartenstein. Putting Hartenstein in that second unit gives you more points. I forgot where I read this, but because of the doubles on Brunson, Hartenstein is a good outlet.
Yep.
So now you putting him in that second team to help the second team offense, and you're creating more problems from Jalen Brunson, who's going to see a lot of double teams in the in the playoffs, particularly if we're not 100%. Lady and the Chef, and then Ajay, any concerns? And then we'll move on to talking about Detroit, the game tonight.
Yeah, I've been saying that I'm a little slightly concerned because to me, I haven't thought since the start of the season that the Knicks had a solid bench unit or second unit. And if you look at the last, I would say maybe, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 games, the Knicks points in the paint have been down. So the points in the paint are like really low. We used to have anywhere between 58 to 64. You're lucky if you get 30, 32, 34 points in the paint. So that's down. I don't think Burks was ever really the best decision to try to go to as the backup point for Brunson. Burks is not a point guard. That's not, to me, his role. I never was really even comfortable when he was trying to play in point with the Knicks when he was previously on the squad. And I just don't think that right now, to me, McBride is ready for that role yet. And I still think that the Knicks still need a true solid 5 position to play that role. I just don't think that we have that right now. But I am concerned just because I think that when Brunson's not in, the scoring isn't there. And then it sucks because it's like he has to stay out on the floor. He can barely get a breather because no one's really making anything happen. Like the ball is just going from side to side, side to side. Like no one's saying, let me take the ball inside. There's no playmakers.
Right.
There's no playmakers on this team. And that I was listening to your episode from Friday today at work, and I heard you ask the question of It was something to the degree of like, do the Knicks have enough playmakers, or rather, do they need one more guy to make it happen, or is this enough? And it made me think, like, is Brunson gonna end up being like how Dame was in Portland?
Mm.
And this team doesn't really, you're known as a playoff team, but you don't really go anywhere? Or do we need, and I think we do need another piece, because I don't think that, while I think the Knicks are contenders and I think this team is growing and they're going to grow, continue to grow, I just don't see, I think we're still missing a piece to really like that final missing link to
Even
get
when
us
healthy.
up.
Even when
healthy.
Okay.
Even when healthy, because I feel like, yeah, you'll have your Mitch, you'll have your Hartenstein back. But and I also think, like, I do want to sit back and see how we do in the playoffs, because I want to see, are guys going to show up? I hope no one disappears, one. And then two, the other thing I'm looking for are, can your OGs, can your Randalls, let's take Brunson out because we know he can do that. But can other guys create on their own one-on-one and get to the basket? Because that was the issue last year in the playoffs. We didn't have playmakers who can actually make a move, get us a basket. And there was times where the defense was locked in on those top guys, your Randalls, you know. So that's what I'm looking for. But I still think that there's a concern, because when the starters sit down, or when Tibbs try to get one or two of them down, I mean, Josh Hart is capable of giving you 20-something points a game.
Mm.
Precious has disappeared. He's capable of giving you. But who do you really have on the second unit that's a playmaker that can get the ball in their hand, can get you the baskets that you need? And I don't think that this team has that yet. I think in the offseason they're going to look for that, but I don't think we have that yet. So there's a concern for me, yes.
Okay. Ajay, the non-Brunson minutes before we move on to tonight's game.
Listen, Brunson, he's the head of the snake. He's our superstar. He's our lead guard. Yeah, there's always a concern when he's not on the floor. But I'm not gonna lose sleep over it. Why? Because we have guys that can score. And they, like I said earlier, in the top part of the show, they haven't found their groove yet, but these guys can put the ball in the hole. And it's also up to Thibodeau to manage the rotation so that you always have some of those guys, whoever's scoring. So when he takes Brunson out, like, leave DiVincenzo on the floor to shoot a couple of threes, to give you some scoring. Have Deuce McBride can score, and Bogdanovic can score. I mean, these guys, they can score. So he has to manage the rotation and the substitutions in a way that you're able to get point from those guys.
They got to make the baskets, though, Ajay. I mean, because that's what we've been doing.
Absolutely. No, I know. He has been doing that, but those guys haven't produced yet. Those guys haven't, I mean, that trade is not really looking beneficial right now. And I don't think it's gonna. Those guys are professional players, man. At some point they're gonna get into their spot, into their sweet spot, and they're gonna be able to produce. So I'm worried about it. It is a concern, but thank God we're winning with it now. And when they get in the flow of what the team is doing, I think we're gonna be fine. I think we're gonna be fine.
Okay. All right. I mean, we'll have more of these shows as we get closer to the playoffs. So we played Detroit tonight. Detroit is, let me just put up has everybody in it, but I'll just focus on Detroit. We played Detroit tonight. They're 12-59. They've lost 6 straight. They're 15th, which is last in the Eastern Conference. This is the wrong. All right. We're actually 2-0 against them. I think I uploaded the wrong. We're actually 2-0 against them. They're 26th in offensive rating, 27th in defensive rating, 28th in net rating. Cade Cunningham is out tonight. Quentin Grimes is out. Taj Gibson, Jalen Duren, Osar Thompson, the rookie, is out. Isaiah Stewart is out. Simone Fontecchio is out. And Stanley Amude, whoever he is out. I don't know who the Knicks are playing tonight. We'll be without.
California.
Right. We'll be with Right, Fournier, right. We'll be without Julius, OG, Mitch. Listen, whenever there's a game when we have absolute, remember Brunson went out and we played Cleveland. It was like, oh, we was already shorthanded. The Knicks won the game. Anytime you think it's a definite win, it's a dogfight. Whenever you think it's a definite loss, the Knicks come through. So the same thing tonight. All things point to a blowout. The roster, the players they have out, they're not a good team. The Knicks are within a half a game of third place. Everything is lined up tonight, even though Cleveland plays. Everything is lined up tonight. This game is going to overtime. Whenever it seems like
You're
it's
not wrong,
a must win. But anyway, we'll start with Lady and the Chef. What's your expectation tonight? Is there anything you'd like to see from the Knicks or a particular player or particular match? Well, we can't even talk about matchups. We don't even know,
Right.
Yeah. But anything, your expectations tonight and anything you're looking to see.
Yeah, it's funny because when the Knicks play against teams like Brooklyn and Detroit, the score is always close. I never feel like I can go make a full snack or something to eat because I'm like, the game is always so close. And I don't know why that happens every time we play them. It's like, especially Detroit, they keep the Knicks on their heels. So I would love to see the Knicks get a nice lead, a comfortable lead, maintain the lead, and then hopefully Tibbs could sit Brunson down early in the fourth and let him rest. But that's the main thing for me. I don't know why whenever we play Detroit we can't seem to get a nice comfortable lead on these guys, and it just seems like the game is always very close. I feel confident that the Knicks are going to win. I already said these next few 4 games that the Knicks are playing, they're non-negotiables. I think the Knicks need to definitely win these, especially because of where their standings are in the East. But for tonight, especially against Detroit, I want to see the Knicks get a nice lead on these guys and maintain that and just blow them out. Put your foot on their necks and don't let go.
Yeah, for sure. Ajay?
100% agree with Lady and the Chef. And this is a typical, like a true trap game, because you don't know, there's no scouting report on the guys we're going to be playing. But
Right.
we have more talent than they do, so it should be a blowout. But like you said, it might go to overtime, but we are going to win that game. We cannot afford to lose the game tonight because we're trying to get to the third seed. So I mean, tonight and the next couple of games, we have to win those games. Those are games we can win. We're supposed to win, and all season we've been winning those games that we're supposed to win. So I don't expect that to stop. So it should be a kind of boring game tonight because it should be over real early.
Let's see. I will say, Monty Williams, he's a Tibbs type coach in the sense of, showing up every game, regardless of the score, regardless of your record. This is how you need to show up and play hard for 48 minutes. So this team is going to be scrappy, I would think. If we're just looking at him as a coach, they're not going to lay down. But I agree. I still expect the Knicks to pull away. Delusional, and then Jeff.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tight game. Like you stated, every time we play Detroit, it's a tight one for some apparent reason. Can't really seem to pull away. Then of course you got Evan Fournier. It's a revenge game, so he might want to come out. He's going to have extended minutes with half their team out. For me, the key players are Detroit bigs, as he has Jalen Duren, and they have James Wiseman. So how does our big match up against their
Norman
big?
is out, but Wiseman is
Oh,
playing.
Duren is out. Okay, so Wiseman. So yeah, how we met? Oh, yeah, Wiseman. Yeah, he's kind of a bust, but he could potentially have a game. We have these players that have come in and drop 30 and 10 on the Knicks when they really shouldn't. So how do we match up against their bigs? Will Tibbs go out with the small lineup like he did last time and see how we play? So, but I ultimately fourth quarter Knicks is going to pull out 10-15 lead. So we'll get the win.
And before we get to Jeff, and Jeff, you can add this to your response. Does it matter how we win? Like, would you be disappointed if we won by 3 or if it went into overtime, or are you just win, baby? However you can get it. Jeff?
Well, I don't believe in moral victories, so I'm not going to because of that, I don't think I can complain about an ugly win. Just get the W. Like, obviously, we would prefer to have a runaway game where Brunson gets to sit the entire fourth quarter, and all of those things, because it sets you up better for later in the week. But these are still, as Ajay loves to say, they're the 450 best players on the planet. They can still, doesn't matter what the name is, they can still go out and play hard and play well. To me, it's the defensive intensity. I think if we play with our requisite defense, if we're locked in on that end of the floor with all the injuries they have, I don't think they have the ability to score consistently enough to really make this a hyper competitive game. But again, the Knicks see the report too. They know that they're not there. So it's human nature to have that kind of letdown when you know what I mean? When you're not playing against the best, it's you just, that intensity level just drops like a little bit. And if it drops too far, then you find yourself in trouble. So I think if we can keep the intensity level high and defend, then I'm not worried about the result. But I would love to just run them out of the building and not have to sweat for a change.
Yeah, and listen, even if we are up big in the fourth quarter, I don't even know if Brunson will sit in the entire quarter. It's something I think he should. And hopefully he does. I forgot what game it was. We were up, I don't know, 16, 17 points. I was like, oh, Brunson should be good. It's like, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes left. He still came back.
He did. You're right.
Look,
Yeah.
it's
Was it
Tibbs.
Portland?
Tibbs is
Yeah.
he got this clock where he gives everybody the minutes for some apparent reason. It makes no sense.
Yeah. And even if I get it, it's the NBA in the fourth, 5 minutes. Yeah, a team can come back. I get it. Just put the guys back in. But you know what? I guess when a team goes on a run, there's no guarantee making a substitution is going to stop it. I don't know. Maybe not 5 minutes, but 3 minutes, something. Yeah. Let those guys sit. Ham, Hart,
Question is, Burks out tonight for us? I heard he was
Burks
having
was questionable. He's out?
I was asking if he was out because
I think I read something that he's out for tonight. He said he could have played through, but I think the team said he's going to sit out because they want to get Deuce 48. So,
yeah. And worried about Burks is out when he's in.
All right. I think with Burks, just tell him to focus on facilitating, and not facilitating in terms of getting in the key, but facilitating me moving the offense along. Just focus on moving the offense along, like Lady in the Chef said earlier in the show. And if a shot comes to you, take it. But just for now, relax, pass, facilitate. Kerry Cox said Shake Milton may get minutes. I mean, he's a little Burks too. He's somebody who's gets his shots off the off the dribble.
Bogdanovich may get his 30-point game finally.
Yeah.
He's gonna have to shoot better than 1 for 6 from 3 if he wants to do that.
Yeah. All right, let's go back to the slide and just talk about the rest of the games. Wednesday we play Toronto, who's lost. They're 23-48. They've lost 10 straight. RJ Barrett has been out with the death of his brother. Condolences again to him and his family. IQ has been out, I believe, with the death of his uncle, if I'm not mistaken. They're 12th in the Eastern Conference. I think we are 2-0, maybe even 3-0 against Toronto. Somebody check me. But they're also, 24th in offensive rating, 24th in defensive rating, 24th in net rating. They're not a very good team right now. San Antonio 15-56. They've lost 3 straight, 15th in the Eastern Conference. We're 1-0 against them. They're 27th in offensive rating, 22nd in defensive rating, 26th in net rating. And then Sunday, I have Saturday here, but it's actually Sunday. We play OKC 49-21. They've lost their last game. They're second in the Eastern Conference. I think we're 1-0 against them.
No, I think we lost against
So we're
OKC.
0-1 against OKC.
Yeah, we haven't beat them.
Okay. They're 5th in offensive rating, 5th in defensive rating, and 2nd in net rating. This is a really, really good team. Predictions for this week before we get out of here.
All right, I guess I'll start. It'll be a 4-0 week for us. Main reason is for that Sunday game, we get Mitch back, and he's going to put a stamp on that. But yeah,
Okay. Lady in the Chef?
3-1. OKC is the team like Denver. I would like to see the Knicks win and beat them. I had them OKC on that list with Boston as the list of teams that the Knicks need to prove they can beat. 3-1, hopeful for 4-0, but 3-1.
Okay. Ajay?
Really?
hold me down, AJ. Hold me down.
Come on, man. 4-0.
That's what I'm
And
talking about.
it's very simple. The next 3 games, our guys are gonna be well rested. So they'll be resting all week, and they're gonna come back and play on Sunday, and they'll be well rested for the next couple of games. Our starters, that is, and then we're gonna come on Sunday, and we're gonna, listen. But in all seriousness, though, the Oklahoma City game, that's a good measuring stick to see where we're at. Even though we have guys out, you still want to know, because right now we don't know what's gonna happen with OG or Randall or Mitch, but I mean, this is the squad we're going to playoffs with, right? So you want to play as many good teams as possible to see where you stand. So yeah, I'd like to see us go 4-0 and beat OKC. I mean, I don't see us losing any of the previous 3 games. Hopefully there's no letdowns, but like you say, I mean, that we got 3 trap games and then OKC. Hopefully we don't fall into traps and we come ready for OKC. I think aren't they like first in the West? I think they're like
Second, I think second.
second.
They're second.
I mean, that's a pretty good team. That's a very good team over there, man.
Yeah.
And hey, listen, man, let's come in ready for them. Sunday. I'd like to see us win. Yeah, I'd like to see us go 4-0.
Toronto and San Antonio, if I'm not mistaken, are on the road. Somebody.
Yes, they are.
Okay.
And come back home to OKC.
Back home to OKC. But the thing about it is, and then we'll get to Jeff. Even though they have these teams don't have great records on any given night, so Toronto has lost 10 straight. They're due for one. Hopefully it's not against the Knicks. Is that the game Barrett and IQ return? You know what I mean? Just because they want to play the Knicks. Regardless, the Knicks have enough to win. I'm just saying we can't take them for granted, and the Knicks themselves can't take them for granted. And Wembanyama, he's something else, and they're playing him in San Antonio, and we beat them in New York, so they're not going to lay down for the Knicks. The Knicks are going to have to beat Toronto. They're going to have to beat San Antonio, because even though they don't have a great record, they're not laying down for the Knicks.
Well, quickly, not to cut you off, Jeff, though, but look at the Knicks record with below 500 teams. We get it done. Don't want to jinx it, but we get it done.
Yeah. Jeff?
Well, I get PTSD on the second night of a back-to-backs. You know that. So I'm gonna agree with the lady in the house. I'm gonna say 3-1. That game is, we're coming back home, but the trip and everything like that, all that stuff, depending on health too. I would love to see Mitchell Robinson come back, win or lose, because I just think that every quality healthy body that we have is going to help us, and we've all said that they need time to reintegrate. Well, by that game, I think we're going to have 10 games left in the season, or 9, something like that.
Yep.
So you're running out of time if you need to get your win back up to get on the court, and I just think that having Mitch there just activates us in such a big way, because then between he and iHeart, you just have 48 minutes of excellent, reliable rim protection at the 5. With Mitch, he's the dominant offensive rebounder. We already know all the things that iHeart brings to the table, but I think it takes a lot of pressure off of Coach Tibbs and iHeart, because we know iHeart's still on that minutes restriction. Well, if you can plug in Robinson for probably what we need him to do anyway, which is 15, 20 minutes at most, well, that's, what we've been seeing the last few games is that every time iHeart sits, it's like, when can he get back in? Right. Because he's been so vital. And it's also funny to me that we, at one point in time, maybe a year ago, we talked about how iHeart can replicate a bunch of the stuff that Mitch does when he's off the court. And now the shoe is on the other foot. We're going to say, well, Mitch is not iHeart, but he can replicate these things while he's on the court to make us better than when we have Precious or Sims, for example, out there. And so that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think at this point, Precious should never, ever play the 5 position for the rest of the season.
Just,
yeah.
He's not that bad, Queen. He's not that bad.
He's a better 4 than 5.
100%. But it depends on the lineup. If Tibbs, you're gonna put him against Jokic, you can't expect 2-2-2.
But I've seen him against others. He's just really light. He's just really light. I mean, so you're not getting the rim protection,
right?
But he's not a Sims. Like you can really move him,
right?
So yeah, I don't like him at the 5 at all. I prefer Sims. Over Precious. But anyway, any last words? We out of here 7:31. Usually tip is at 7:40. Any last words? I gotta go get me something, get my snack. Well, hopefully I should be able to get a snack during the game too. But
I'm pushing for Knicks to pull out a full lineup against that OKC game, where hopefully we could get a Julius and OG and Mitch sighting. So I'm pushing for that game to be the cornerstone for us.
That would be great. That would be great. Any other last words?
Well, hit the like button, man. Come on, man. We only got like 46 likes, man. Make Sam the Podfather happy.
Yes.
That we let him know y'all was here.
Yeah. Salute. Y'all already know what it is. This is our MBK family of shows. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that notification button. Shout out to DJ Shuttle, who's usually with us. He's doing his thing on IG. Should be at 8 o'clock tonight. So maybe you can have DJ Shuttle in the background while you're watching the Knick game. Spread love to Knicks Chicks, Lady and the Chef in the house tonight. Regular panelist, and she will be hosting the Queen's Court next week because I'm gonna be in Miami. I'll be in there for that game as well. So make sure you come by next week, show love, make sure the panel shows up for her as well. Until next time.